Hello and welcome to the Fat Boss Guide to the Stone Guards in the Mogushan Vaults on the Mr. Pandaria beta.
Yes, it's wonderful, this boss. You got little lion stat. Oh, it's amazing.
It's a very good fight, very, very good.
So what you want to bring to this fight is 2 tanks, 2 to 3 healers, depending on how shit you are, and any DPS really. It's nice for melee and ranged.
In this encounter you will fight 3 mobs out of a selection of 4. The bosses you fight change on a weekly rotation, so on 1 week one of the mobs is benched. In this footage we have Cobalt, Jade and Jasper, so Amethyst is benched.
Now the bosses do have a shared health pool, so if you bring any Warlocks or just Cleave DPS, everyone's going to have a lovely time.
Dots and Cleave's good for this boss. The mobs themselves are all very similar, they all work the same way. They have individual abilities that we'll get to a bit later in this video. But the main shared abilities are Renflesh, which is just a dot that will be applied to the tanks, very, very simple. And another one called Solid Stone, which basically when one of the mobs is 12 yards away from its friends, then it will have a 90% damage reduction, but it will have no energy regen. And we'll get into the energy regen in a second.
Now every Stone Guard's goal is to petrify the raid. They will take turns at applying a debuff to the raid that stacks. Once it reaches 100 stacks, you are turned to stone and you can't move or act. So basically you wipe.
You're fucked, yeah.
That's GG. Now while you have the debuff stacking, you also take 80% less damage from the elemental damage that the particular guard deals. So that's quite nice.
So if the mob is the Cobalt one, he does arcane damage. While you have the stacks up, you're taking 80% less arcane damage.
That's lovely.
Until the stacks are clear. Now, every time one of the guards reaches 100% energy, they'll cast something called Overload, and this will do a lot of damage to the raid, but more importantly, it will completely clear your Petrify stacks. You'll lose them completely. However, you need to make sure that it is the right guard that has done the Overload. So, for example, if you have Petrified stacks from the Jade, you need to make sure that the Jade one has done its Overload, and that will clear it. And obviously, you can't control it, but you need to make sure that they are actually continue getting their energy. They are near each other and that's how they get their energy. However, you can see in this video we actually have 1 tanked outside the group. We have 2 mobs on together and 1 mob outside the group. Because the mob isn't with the other one, the one on its own, it has Solid Stone active on it, which means it has no energy regen at all, and it's got 90% damage reduction on it. The reason why this is being done is so we don't have 3 overloads going off constantly. We only have 2 going on constantly.
It's just to help the healers, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
It's just to make it as easy as possible for the healers. However, even though Solid Stone is active on the mob can still cast Petrify. To fix this, we have our main tank, who currently has the 2 adds on him, taunt the other one over so he can start getting his energy back. Because you need to make sure that mob now overloads. When that mob is being taunted over, the off tank just taunts one of the other ones away. So that, you still have the stone skin active on at least one of them, which means you're still only getting 2 overloads. If you're slow at taunting over, then the petrify stacks are going to go up too high. The energy isn't going to regen quick enough for you to get an overload in time, and everyone will get petrified.
Which is a bit shit.
Which is shit. So essentially, the whole encounter is about is just making sure the right mobs overload. However, there's nothing preventing you from tanking them all on top of each other and having 3 overloads go off at the same time, but there is quite a lot of damage.
So apart from the mobs actually having all those other abilities, they have individual abilities, which is nice of them. So the Cobalt Stone Guard has something called Cobalt Grasp, which is basically arcane damage to a random person, and it leaves a 6-second magic debuff, which just roots you. Which is...
but it can be dispelled.
It can be dispelled, which is nice. Jade Stone Guard, what he does is something called Jade Shards, and this is basically just AoE on the raid.
And there's nothing you can do about it, you just have to
Isn't that wonderful? Now the Jasper one does something called Jasper Cleave. It hits the tank and then up to 5 of the other nearest targets, so this only will affect melee, so...
It's most likely will only affect melee.
But
it didn't seem to work on the beta, so...
Yeah, so maybe melee it isn't great to bring to the fight, but it isn't that much damage, so you should be able to deal with it. Also, the Amethyst one does something called Amethyst Pool, which is basically a void zone, so guess what you do with that?
We can assume it's a void zone, you just have to move from it.
Yeah. It's just lovely. So as long as your tanks can taunt properly and your DPS can just sit there and beat the shit out of everyone while the healers just heal the raid, strangely enough, they die, which is lovely. And there you go, that's boss dead, GG.
So that's pretty much it. That's the end of our guide. If you enjoyed it, then make sure you drop a like. It helps us out a lot. And if you'd like to see more Fat Boss content, if you'd like to see more Mr. Pandaria beta content, make sure you subscribe and click up on the annotations on your screen now to see more videos.
Ooh, yes. Good day.